Where's my new letter?
We're live.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to It's Sybil. I am Sybil Wilkes. Welcome in Coy Malone. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you, Sybil? And how are you, Yolanda?
I'm
Starks
happy.
White.
I'm trying to put some energy out there because I'm the sleepyhead, Coy. Oh my goodness, am I sleepy?
Are you a
That,
night owl?
I am a night owl, but
that's an understatement.
this is my
Nap time.
my nap time. My body naturally. And what's funny is when I used to teach yoga all the time, I always had a 6 o'clock class. And I'm telling you, about 6:45, Coy. Oh my goodness. I'd be like, okay, I'm just gonna do the first 10 minutes. Okay, I made it through 10 minutes. Okay, we gonna go for 20 minutes. Okay, and I would have to talk myself through the whole thing.
Mm, I know how that is.
Sleep is just it be on me.
It be
Simple.
on you?
Yes. That
Okay.
was for you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's
Is that's what it does? Okay. So properly, sleep is on me.
Sleep really hits you hard.
Yes, it does.
And Coy, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good, good,
Why
good,
you
good.
good?
Because I'm figuring things out as I go. And I have a plan. And
So that doesn't indicate that you have a plan.
I mean, I have a plan and I'm figuring it out. And if it doesn't work, then we're going to add something else to it until something works.
Yep,
That's my plan. That's
that's
my
what I'm saying.
plan. Doing things differently, making a decision, and then sticking with it and actually trying it this time. And if that doesn't work, then do something else. Instead of saying, I'm going to do this, and then I never do it.
So, like what, for example, if you can share? For example, like what?
One of the things I've really been reconsidering lately is going to therapy. I said, I'm going to do this. And I see where it will really benefit me in a lot of different ways in my life. And so instead of saying I'm going to do this and not even making any steps, like I'm actually looking for a psychiatrist that I think I could connect with that, isn't going to be too far from me, and then scheduling the appointments. So far that's been a bust because all of the ones that were listed under my healthcare provider, they all have incorrect contact information. So that's been disappointing.
What does it say about your health
Yeah.
care?
Yeah, I know. Is it
Oh
real?
my goodness.
What am I paying for? Right.
Right.
I'm telling you, one of the best sayings that I've heard, I would say in the past 10 years, is from the great Sybil Wilkes when she said, finding a therapy is like finding a date. And I've always hated dating. And it is. It's
It's
like finding the
the
one that
one.
matches with you.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Because
Like,
now, so I had to get a new therapist, and she had to be a black woman. I wanted somebody that was young and was old enough where they could have experienced life,
life experiences.
but young enough where they not old black women.
Because you have enough of those in your life.
Yes, yeah, right. I got enough of that. Right. Right, Sybil. I got enough old black women in my life. I'm good in that department. And
Yeah.
so yeah. And most of them, get this, Coy, most of them that I'm finding are virtual, which I'm an old black woman. I don't like that. I know younger people prefer virtual, but they're virtual, and the price is still the same, whether it's inpatient or virtual. I'm mad at that.
Should be discounted at virtual.
Well, because it's
You don't
not.
think
I mean,
so?
the
I think it
time
should.
the time that it takes for you to travel and to get us, in some people's cases, get childcare, get time off from your job for that hour or 50 minutes or whatever it is, that takes up a lot of time. So it's almost in the cost of in-person therapy. But therapy on online, you just press a button, you say,
Right.
let's get started.
Right. And if I'm at the house, I got too many distractions in my
Mhm.
house. I got, like, right now, I'm paying attention to Ramsey. I could actually hear Ward doing something. I need to be away from here. And this is my place of peace. But still, I need to go outside.
In the rain.
But I guess you got to get it where you can. So are yours in person? Are you finding you having just as many in person, or you prefer? Tell her.
I would prefer in person.
Oh, okay.
I would
And
prefer in person.
why is your preference in person?
I feel like we're so impersonal these days. Everything is like done over the phone, over our computers, our laptops, our tablets. That takes away from the human aspect of
I
a lot
agree.
of different things. And I feel like we're a lot more effective in person. You can pretend online all day. I could pretend on here,
Right.
for a whole hour. I can pretend.
Right.
But you can't lie in person. Can't hide
Well,
anything in
I
person.
found that you can't lie online either. So, and my first attempt at therapy was during the pandemic, and so that wasn't an in person thing. But a lot like you, Yolanda. But I didn't want them too young because it seems like all the young ones think they know every damn thing, and I don't want anyone. I want them. I want to learn from them, but I also want to go through the process with them.
Right.
And with that, it's like, oh, well, I know that. Why don't you know that? I'm like, my my
Everybody's not
my
glued to the phone all day.
my purpose is to learn something new every day. So if I learn from you, that's a good thing. Not tell me that, oh, you're stupid because you don't know. Everybody knows that. No, no, no. So
That just means
everybody's
she
approach
wasn't
is
for you.
different. Yeah,
She
and
wasn't
that
for
was
you. Yeah.
quickly crystallized in my head that no, this was not the real relationship. So
Right.
I ask you to please pardon my voice. I've been nursing a cough and a sore throat and a bad voice all day, and so little tea.
That's the bad voice.
Yeah, that's the bad voice. You should have heard me earlier when Ahmed was going, damn. That's going. You want me to voice these for you? No.
That's how I thought you sounded.
Everybody knows that. So I apologize. I've been waking up with this cough, and then all of a sudden this morning it woke me up, and just
Sybil,
one
do
of those
you have
days.
a humidifier?
Hmm.
Do you use your humidifier? See, that's the
Yeah.
word, right, Coy? Do you
Yeah, like
use
how she used her oven.
exactly?
No, I use it,
Okay.
but I hadn't recently.
Okay. Because
Because
I'm
it seems,
wondering, is that your throat dry? Is it dry?
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And but over the last couple of days, it's been so humid in my house. I was like, well, I don't need, and I don't know why, but it's just been very extremely humid.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah. You want to take that?
Yes, I do have to take this. I'll be right
Okay.
back.
Okay. All right, Coy, let's talk about the What You Need to Know newsletter. And this is our Monday through Friday newsletter in which we seek to tell stories about Black people and their circumstances. And oftentimes it's stories how Black folks are affected by what's going on in the world. Today, you are continuing your story about the uh, life and times of Sonia Massey, and you talk about the countrywide tributes to the Black woman who was killed by a Springfield, Illinois police officer.
Yes. So on yesterday, which was July 28th, that day was declared by activists as a national day of mourning for Sonia Massey. And there were vigils that were planned all over the US in cities including New York, Los Angeles, St. Louis, Washington, D.C., Kansas City, Cedar Rapids, Wilmington, and Massey's home of Springfield, Illinois. And as we covered just last week, in the What You Need to Know newsletter, Sonia Massey called the police on July 6th to report a possible intruder, and Sangamon County Police, including 30-year-old Sean Grayson, responded to the call, and he allowed for her to move a pot of water on the stove. He, was basically telling her to move it so it doesn't burn. And then he threatened to shoot her after she said, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus," because I guess he thought that she was going to throw the pot of water or something. And, that's just a phrase that we use. And he took that as a threat. He threatened to shoot her in the face, and then he shot her in the face. And before she was shot, she ducked for cover and said, "I'm sorry." An autopsy released on July 26th confirmed that Massey was killed by a bullet that entered under her left eye. The officer Grayson was fired, arrested, and indicted on charges of murder, battery, and official misconduct. He's currently awaiting trial in August. He is in police custody. And some of the activists, including like Brian Cheshire, said that she wanted to have a community hug and wanted to kind of organize this vigil because there were a lot of people that were dealing with, seeing the released body camera footage that was just released on last Monday, which kind of put a lot more perspective onto the shooting. There's been a lot more details that have been released, including the officer has been reprimanded other times with other police forces that he worked for misconduct, for misuse of force. And it's just a wonder that some of the activists also said that they kind of wondered, did she see other murders by police and wonder, could that be her? So here we are now with this woman who is 36 years old and a mother who is gone, a mother of two who is gone. And, what do we have to show for it? It's a great thing that the police are moving swiftly to punish this person. And I do appreciate seeing the vigils, but what does it take for this to not happen anymore?
Well, one of the things that came to mind was when they were going through this police officer's history and how he had 2 DUIs while he was in the Army. He has worked in no less than 4 police departments in a short period of time.
How old is he?
30 something.
30.
Yeah. 30.
He's 30?
Yeah.
Young, yes.
And one of the highlights, if you will, of the George Floyd Policing Act is that there would be a history that they must indicate where they worked before and before and before. There must be a history. A lot of people will leave those police jobs and go to another and not required to tell what happened in their policing job before they reach this spot. And so what is going to come of this is action on our parts to not only to elect a president who was a part of this bill and making this bill a part of our lives, but also to get a House of Representatives and a United States Senate and the numbers that they will need in order to pass this bill and put it on the president's desk.
Exactly. That's one of the things that I did point out in the article is this enough to pass the George Floyd Policing Justice in Policing Act? That needs to be passed. We don't need to have another example of why this needs to be passed. We don't need to have another conversation about why is this taking so long. We don't need to have another Sonia Massey.
It should have stopped after Trayvon Martin. I mean, it's just like if you want to go back to those murders that have become national headlines. I mean, we go back to George Floyd. That was 2020. Trayvon Martin was before that, and before that, and before that, and before that. There were other Black people.
We have people like Amir Locke. It's so many that we can name.
So, Sybil, let me ask you: if the Policing Act was in effect, what would be different? How could that prevent what happened?
He may not have been hired by the police department in Springfield, or he may have been stopped by another the police department that he worked at before.
So let me ask you: so the 4 other one that he worked at, did he have violations, or did he have something inside, or was he just going from place to place because he was moving, or he was moving up? I mean, what's in his background that would have been a flag?
He had other violations, including there was, I don't know the name of the department. I may be able to find it because I just came across this information a few minutes ago. However, there was an instance at another police department where he lied about the information in the police report that was used for the investigation. And there is a recording of the actual interview where he's being called out. I don't know if it's by the police chief, but he's being called out in this interview on his integrity as an officer and his integrity of the actual report versus what was actually reported. So there's so many different instances that are coming out in his history that is showing that he has a track record of not only misusing his force, but also false reporting, because there were false reports with this as well. When Sonia Massey was shot, it was said that the officers rendered aid to her immediately when that was not the case.
One news story I saw, Janice Eatman says dishonorable discharge from the military was the first one. She should never have been an officer anywhere. Absolutely right. And CBS News reports that they obtained audio recordings from superior officers who were worried about his behavior. And one recording released by the Logan County Sheriff's Office in Illinois, where he worked from May 2022 to April of 2023 for a year. A supervisor is heard admonishing him for, the senior officer said, was his lack of integrity for lying in his reports that he was filling out regarding police actions and for what he calls official misconduct.
Yes, that was the story I just came across. Yep.
Yeah. We're going to get more on this story. We have two people who are involved in the case that are on Attorney Ben Crump's staff, and they're going to be joining us this week to talk about this and also other things that are related to it, because this is a case, as you both have said, and everybody's saying, how did it get to this point? How is this man allowed to have a job? And here's the worst part of all this is, and I'm a union kid, a child of union parents, but this is the worst part of all. The police union is demanding that this man be given all of his pension.
Wow.
And all of that comes along with
even if he's convicted,
his union membership. Yep.
Wow.
And certainly before he is allowed to, before he goes to court. And as Coy said, he goes, the first hearing will be in August. So they have fights on their part, not only against this man, but the system that has enabled him to do so many things wrong.
They need to give his pension to Sonia Massey's family on top of whatever else.
For sure. That should be a part of it. So we will get more on this from the folks that are directly involved. There's an attorney and an investigator who are going to be joining us this week to talk more about this. Among the other things we'd like for you to take a look at in the What You Need to Know newsletter, it's Ministry Monday. And our friend Willie Mae McIver, I'm sorry, yes?
No, miracles.
Willie Mae McIver always hits one out of the park and seems to bring things that are, if they're not on my mind, certainly do have a place in my life at that particular time. It's a lot like your jewels, Yolanda. They really hit home. And as a result, asking you to take a look at her part in the newsletter. My stuff is usually political, but when it goes on to religion and morals and actions like that, she talks about miracles, the extraordinary and astonishing happenings that are attributed to the presence and action of a divine power. So please take a look at that.
Like Kamala Harris being in this seat that she's in is a miracle.
Yeah, being in the right place at the right time.
She becomes president.
Yes, just and they talk about, when things happen is when you're prepared and timing and preparation meet and great things like this happen. So and that is, Kamala Harris is what I talk about in the newsletter. Both the endorsements by the Obamas, the former president and former First Lady Obama, as well as talking about her picking the right person to be her running mate, which is that's an art, because as we can see on the other side, there is, as I said in the newsletter, a bit of buyer's remorse on the Republican side about the man who was selected to be the running mate for Donald Trump. They're kind of scratching their heads and going, "Is this the right call?" But uh, you'll be glad to know that the bettors are saying, the professional gamblers are saying, uh, the odds are very low that he will be replaced by anyone.
Really?
Yeah, that's
Mm.
usually they're only replaced when well, in the past, Coy, it was if the vice presidential candidate had a mental illness or something that didn't seem quite right. And at that time there was a lot of disparaging remarks and thoughts about mental health. And so one of the candidates had to leave behind because he had been treated for mental illness, and I believe with shock therapy.
Mm.
And so yeah, he was taken off of that one. So these are the kinds of stories that we talk about in the newsletter. And Yolanda, um, I don't know if you got a chance to read all of the stories, but I think they're all quite good. And also a tip of the hat because it's Black Nurses Week, so we want to thank all the Black nurses in our lives. Um,
Sybil, before you move on, if I could just address, we have had some technical issues with StreamYard, the platform that we use, connecting to how we broadcast, which is YouTube and Facebook. So those are the family and friends that is just getting the notification from Facebook. We apologize. Chica is aware of it, and we're working it out.
okay, thank you, Chica. Our tech whiz, Chica, is on the case, which brought to mind, what are the technical challenges you faced lately? And I thought about this, Yolanda, not only because we were having problems with this earlier in the link for people to get on, but also you were asking our producer, Med, the other day about a challenge that you're having with one of your computers. And so, and Coy, last week you gave us a whole educational series on what happened with the technology and your office and how people were faced with challenges. So this week I want to know what have been your technical challenges, or technological challenges, I should say. Coy, are you still going through it?
Yeah, there's not many errors right now going on with CrowdStrike, not in my company in particular. I know there are still companies that are dealing with that, unfortunately. So now we are catching up with the work that we didn't accomplish due to CrowdStrike errors being the priority. So I think that's going to be our challenge this week, is kind of doubling up on the work.
And how will you overcome this CrowdStrike thing? Because it seemed to me that it was a matter of or not updating your security or spyware or something having to do with that. How will you all avoid that? Have you come up with that plan?
Well, that would be more so on the change management side, which I'm not a part of that side. That would be
Yeah.
great if I would. Yeah, not yet. That'd be great. But what they will have to do is come up with a plan for, the entire company. And then there's going to have to be testing that's done with different parts. They can't just implement one thing and say this is going to be a coverall for everything technical in the company. They're going to have to say, hey, we're going to upgrade this, and then we want this upgrade like that, and then we want these two to interact like this. And now we're going to have to test a little bit of it to see how it works on the front end for everybody else before we push out the main update that brings everybody up to current, however they want everything, to work. It's a long process. It's going to be a lot of meetings and a lot of talking. That's
Yeah.
pretty much what it is. It's going to be a lot of talking
A
before
lot
this
of
happens.
scratching of heads and going,
Yeah.
hmm.
And the only way that we're going to know that something's been updated is everybody's going to start coming to us with one error that looks like something funny. Like, when I send the email, I get this pop-up and it doesn't work. And then it's going to seem like it's one person, but then it's going to be 3, then it's going to be 7, then it's going to be 12. And they're going to go, oh, they must have changed something on the back end.
So one of the other things that happened was in France on Friday, the opening day of the Olympics, the opening ceremonies, and some evil geniuses set fire to several train stations that took the almost for the entire country of France, took trains offline. They had them in separate locations, but it affected the train system throughout the state of France.
Wow.
And that is, and you think about all the people that were depending upon the train lines to get them into Paris for the grand opening ceremonies for the Olympics. And that on top of the weather just made things pretty miserable. You don't
People
have,
do anything for attention.
well, they certainly got it. They certainly got it. Yolanda, tell people about the camera on your computer.
Oh, it doesn't work sometimes. And if I turn my computer off and on, it'll come back. But Sybil, my biggest thing is I have two answers. I have a really hard time really working on my phone.
Oh, I thought you were talking about my phone.
No, sending emails and correspondence. Like I got something from the White House today, and I was trying to figure it out because it had a time limit, and I
Mhm.
was out. And it was like I needed a degree to figure out how to give them this information. And then I was talking to somebody. I happen to have an iPhone. I understand that sometimes if you have an Android,
Mhm.
you can't respond to different systems. It's a whole lot of work.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
That's a
that's
good point.
very frustrating. So I try not to do much work. My phone is really using to talk and to play games with.
And so mine today, I took some medication, so I was a little addled and not quite clear. And I was working on a story on my phone, and just as it was time, the deadline was approaching, and I was preparing to send it, I lost my story. I mean, I
So,
lost it.
boy, hold on for a second. This happens
No,
all the
no,
time.
it's not
So
all the
what's
time.
the lesson?
I can't give up working on my phone.
Why?
What I didn't do was apparently I didn't save it.
And why can't you give up
And I
working
was
on
going
your phone?
between that and something else, and I kept going back and forth. And I guess the clock was ticking on my story, and they said, "Oh, you're not going to use us," and it disappeared.
Okay.
You use the notes app.
That's what I used. That's exactly what I used.
Oh, did you type it and then all of a sudden, like you can't see it anymore?
No, all of a sudden I went back to it,
Hmm.
and it was nowhere to be found. It wasn't in anything, any box that I had on any of my email boxes, any of my notes boxes. It was nowhere to be found.
Because what
It'll
I've
show up
seen,
tonight.
yeah, what I've seen with that is for some reason, and that's not even an option that you have, but it happens when I've typed stories on the notes app and then all of a sudden it looks like it disappears. What I
Hmm.
found out is I select all for the whole screen and then I copy and paste it into another drafting something like email
Uh-huh.
because it changes the font to match the background, which is either black or white. I don't know why it does that. There's not even an option to do that, but it does that. So you have to copy and paste it into something else for it to be visible. It is so strange. It's
That is
weird.
that's crazy. That's
Yeah.
crazy. I can't even say that that's what I was trying to do. Um,
No, it's not nothing that you tried. This is
No,
right,
that ain't what
right,
you're trying to do, but that's
right.
what
But
happened.
that's
That's
what
what
what you
happens.
happens.
Yeah,
said.
yeah.
Yeah. So
That's
I don't
it.
know,
Yeah.
copy and paste it into your drafts or your email. That might help
Well, I
every
was
now and
so
then.
busy. There was a
Or
news
use
story
a
that
computer.
used my laptop. Well, this is a computer.
Not the kind that we like.
Well, that not the kind that Yolanda regards as a computer anyway. That's not a computer, it's a phone.
Yep.
And not even a good phone, according to her.
Well,
Judy Douglas on YouTube says, trying to determine if I could just add memory to my cell phone and tablet instead of buying totally new devices. What do you say, Coy?
If you have an Apple, then you would have to purchase a bigger cloud storage for your iPhone or for your tablet. I'm not sure if there's a way that you can add that to Android because I think they've kind of gotten rid of the whole option of adding an SD card. So you might be SOL out of that, or you can purchase
SOL
more
on the
space.
SDM.
Yeah. Or you can purchase a bigger Google Drive. They have options as well, and that's also compatible on Android and on iPhones. And then you also have OneDrive. You have a lot of different options where you can use cloud storage. So that's what I would advise for you to use. Just move everything to your cloud. If you're using iPhone and you're getting the iCloud, then that's automatically hand in hand with both of your phones, like your phone and the iCloud. If you take it off the iCloud, it's going to come off the phone. But if you use Google storage or anything else that's not associated with iPhone, then you have to physically move everything over to the cloud to save it. Yeah.
Stop it. Or you're like me, you get to the point where your phone is too old and the audio's not working and the speaker's not working and everything.
They go get you.
Oh yeah, they got me. They got me.
Yeah, they got me.
Brenda McCutcheon on Facebook says, my technically challenged with streaming in and out of apps, having to online for coupons or discounts. Self-checkout is only option. I am challenged in that question, or what her issue is.
Getting coupons online because they're all self-checkout is the only option for that. And then you're limited sometimes on those checkout coupons, like the self-checkout ones and what have you. Some of them say you can't double them up.
What is it when you're online? You don't have people saying, welcome to Walmart.
Right.
You're doing it yourself, right? No, maybe I'm missing out on something that's being offered that I might need. Because a lot of times I put the promo codes. I'm sorry, that promo code is not available for the items that you're buying.
And what we're going through now, I got to kick people off because of ridiculousness. I'm sorry. Did I say that out loud?
Yeah.
Y'all continue on. I'm sorry.
If you find that you're no longer watching the show, you knew that you were ridiculous.
Wow.
Thanks, Coy.
And thanks so much for joining us while you could. We appreciate it, I think.
But why do people do that? Why do people just come in just to cause havoc? Stop it.
Because nobody else will listen to them. I don't know. But everybody. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Mine, Sybil, is the technology of texting and sending emails for communication. And so even today, we had problems with our connection. And one of my people texts the other person who never checks her text. Right. And so we just kind of up SHIT if she doesn't see her text at the appropriate time. So
yeah, that's frustrating for me.
Let's call. Let's not wait on just because. Coy, when you send somebody a text and it's something urgent, follow up with the phone call to make sure that they get it. So we rely on thanks, Sybil, on technology too much as well.
We hallucinate.
Huh?
We hallucinate. I don't know.
We just like
no. I just like throwing in words.
Oh. So, Coy, this was Sybil. This was you talking about. My brain is moving slower, so I can't always pull the words into my head to articulate them as I'd like. So I would say something like
bananas.
What I'm about to say, and Sybil will insert a word. So I'm about to go to
Fiji.
No, I'm not going to Fiji. I'm going to
the bathroom.
I'm not going to the bathroom. I'm going to
loan Sybil $1 million.
No, and then I end up saying, "Shut the fuck up and let me tell you what I'm about to say." I'm going to the store.
Do you want anything? Shoot. Well, I said bananas.
Anyway.
Do we have any other things with
God,
technology or causing a problem for people, Yolanda, before we
Coy
close
just
this
be
out?
looking at you and with our little antics and like, y'all are interesting people.
No, she's not.
Y'all
That's not what
are.
that's not what she's thinking.
Oh, see, yep.
Teresa Robinson on Facebook, right phone call is better than texting. Sometimes the text message is misread. Yeah, tone in text
Oh,
messages is key.
yep.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yep.
misreading tone in that for sure. That's for sure. Um,
And this is
but
the
but
ultimate
it's just
story.
frustrating because that I'm sorry, Pamela Sullivan on Facebook, the spoken word is going by the wayside. Ooh,
It is.
ooh. Thanks to AI too. Wow.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
I know that it is, but sometimes we just, it'd be nice if people would catch up with their coworkers and say, I should check my text, as opposed to saying, I never look at my text. I'm like, that's not a source of pride. That's and you know that a lot of people do and depend on text to get in touch with you and would prefer not to call you at 4 o'clock in the morning to see if you got something. I'm just saying.
No, you're right.
I know I am.
Coy, see why I can't have an old black woman. See what I'm saying? Because all my girlfriends, when you say something, I know I'm right. See what I'm saying?
And you know where we got that from, Coy?
Who? Yolanda. Yolanda can't have a her
I don't
as
mind
a
standing
as a
alone.
therapist.
I don't mind standing alone. I know I'm right. Okay. All right. Let's talk trending topics and things that have happened today. A 4.9 magnitude earthquake hit Southern California this afternoon. The shaking felt in Los Angeles around 1 o'clock. And following the initial rumble, major aftershocks were also felt that measured at 3.5 and 2.7. That doesn't sound like a lot. I mean, Coy, you've lived in California. Yolanda, you've lived in California.
Yeah, I'm
But there
from
have
there.
been 103 earthquakes in Texas over the last 8 days. 103. Did y'all not hear that? 103 earthquakes in West Texas over the last 8 days. And experts say they're almost 99% likely to be related to oil and gas extractions, also known as fracking.
I think they said there was one in Georgia recently overnight.
Yes, have, yeah. Yep. But 103 in 8 days?
That's crazy.
That is crazy. That is crazy. Here's what is crazy. A 95-year-old Harlem woman. I don't know if you all saw this story or the video, but a 95-year-old woman in Harlem was allegedly viciously beaten, and there's no alleged. We saw the video. Beaten by her home health aide, begging as she defended herself with a back scratcher. Video of the incident shows, and her family is demanding answers. Mrs. Dorothy Foy was at her home in Upper Manhattan July 21st when she said the woman her family hired to look after her started cursing at her and throwing household objects in her direction. According to the Nest camera and the Ring camera footage viewed by thousands on social media, Mrs. Foy, who uses a walker and requires oxygen, struggled to defend herself as the aide struck her multiple times, including at least once with a metal pot from the kitchen.
What?
Mm.
Clips of the incident have gone viral. She eventually fell to the floor. And here's the heartbreak. She lives alone, and so her family has gotten this healthcare worker to help her so that she continue to maintain her individual lifestyle. But she's a former home care worker as well. She
Oh.
called her daughter and granddaughters while she was being struck, telling them, "I love you." And then the call was cut short. When the terrified relatives reached her again, they heard screaming. And then she called the aide, had her number, and she said everything was fine.
Mm-mm.
Under no circumstances are you to yell at her, the granddaughter told the woman. She said, "Oh, of course not. Absolutely." And just like that, nice and sweet. And then she redialed her grandmother and was stunned by what she heard. This woman hung up with her. Then the granddaughter called her grandmother, and she heard the woman in the background. She said it was like Jekyll and Hyde screaming profanities at her. The family says the aide was triggered by an argument over changing bed sheets. They also found alcohol bottles, and I don't think they're talking the rubbing kind, thrown about
Mm-mm.
the apartment. And the worker also wrecked the home and left faucets running, flooding it.
What?
The aide would also throw water bottles, cans, and other items at the older woman, then disappear, according to security footage the family viewed. And you could see her just begging the home care worker. They've since hired a new aide from a different agency, but they're demanding action against this home care company, the Home Health Care Service, based out of Brooklyn, which sent the alleged attacker. They said they experienced a string of inexperienced, careless aides from the company, including one who allegedly left in the middle of the night without telling anyone. And they're now considering legal action. And they say that the grandmother is traumatized.
Oh, they don't need to consider. They need to do it.
That's absolutely right.
So
There's
And
no
did
way.
they find the young lady who perpetrated the?
the NYPD investigation is ongoing. The home aid caretaker company is not commenting, but they did say that they don't have a response from her,
Oh
but that the
no.
case is ongoing.
I bet you
There
are
would be
fine.
no
Give me her
case.
name.
There
I'm
would be
sorry,
no
I
case.
They
don't
were not.
understand, Sybil. I don't understand. Do they
Mm-mm.
have the lady who perpetrated this on this woman?
They,
Do they have the?
she's not been arrested. The case
She
has
has
not.
not. But have they identified her?
Yes, they have identified her. Yes. I'm sorry. I didn't understand it. Yes, they have identified
Couldn't
her.
have been my grandmother or mother. I would have
That's what a
identified her
lot of
too.
people said. All they had to do was see the first time somebody did like this, and they would have been wherever they are, would have found their way to grandma's house, over the river and through the woods.
Yeah.
Or I find my way to her house
Well, okay, that too. But she
So
was
I was
in a,
easily.
wondering when they were calling, were they calling because they were in
they were
another
watching.
city? So they must not have been in town because I would be at my
Well,
mama's house in two
right.
minutes.
Well, yeah, not everybody lives,
Right,
15 minutes from their mama's house.
right.
They probably want to have help give her a sense of living independently
But there comes
as
a
Right,
well.
point
Yeah.
right.
that, and especially
How old is the
90,
lady?
95.
Oh my goodness.
And she's in a wheelchair. She needs oxygen. So living alone is, even with a home health aid worker, is, it would seem illogical at best.
What is wrong with people? Oh my
But
goodness.
that is just a tremendous fear. Either they are beating your family up, or they're stealing from them or something. But it doesn't seem to be really great situations in which people feel comfortable about leaving a family member, even a child.
This
Wow.
is a time where I'm not opposed to street justice.
That's what a lot of people are saying, Coy. Paulette Hammond Dorson on YouTube said, "Help me understand. Did the Ring camera catch the entire thing?" They said they had a Ring and whatever the other type of camera is. It caught from different angles, apparently.
Oh my God.
So I don't see why it's taking them so long to clear this case
Right.
Because
and
she's
to
black?
arrest this woman
When did this happen?
last week.
Okay.
Because she's black.
Both of them.
Yeah.
It's painful to watch.
That's terrible. That is awful.
I mean,
That is awful.
just as you see the situation with Sonia Massey, and then you go to another story and you see this, it's just
Well, that's what
Sick.
I was going to say. And we ran out of time with the Miss Massey situation. Is I'm not sure if he had been flagged because there are officers out there that haven't been flagged because they know how to cover up their misdeeds.
mhm.
And it's some sensitivity training where if they see us as
And that's a
people,
part of the bill too, Yolanda.
oh, it is. Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, they don't see us as people.
Right.
So how can they treat us like a human being if they don't see us as a human being?
And that's a
Right.
part of it, making sure that there is a regulatory system, a system across all agencies in which they are taught and they are schooled in terms of how to treat Black people and in the different situations, people of color in the different situations.
And with this, Sybil, because, and just like I was going to say, Coy, with the healthcare, there is such a shortage of healthcare professionals, from doctors to aides. It's a shortage, and it's a field that is growing, and the gap is getting wider and wider. And so some people might slide through the cracks who might not ordinarily be, because they need home health care workers. They
and
desperately need
and the
them.
system to regulate that is, I mean, just like with foster care systems, they don't have enough people to go
Right.
out there and to do the
Yep.
caseworkers to
Yep.
follow up on and children in situations that are detrimental to their life or to their health.
Yep. This is Brenda said.
Brenda McCutcheon on Facebook, the health aid industry registry is something else that needs review because, like policemen, they go elsewhere and can be hired if there is no arrest.
Right.
Well, I think that's the beauty of Facebook. You go on Facebook and say, do not hire this woman. And let me tell you why. And you're going to, if you got something to say, she's case number 7893529-003.
Right. I'm with you, Sybil.
That's
Man,
that's just awful.
I'm with you.
ugly.
That's awful. Um, is anybody watching the Olympic Games? She hesitated to ask, knowing what the response might be.
Well, I've seen some of the highlights, and the biggest thing that was, and I'm really not political, but I'm not sure that the political message that Snoop was sending with the
With
Trump
the
tennis
torch?
shoes.
Oh, it wasn't Trump tennis shoes.
It looked like Trump
I
tennis
know,
shoes.
but the Trump tennis shoes, as has been pointed out, the Trump tennis shoes would have had a big T on them. Did you see the T on the gold shoes?
I'll have to go back and look again.
Okay, go and inspect, Cluzo.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. So the opening ceremony, I thought you were going to talk about. Paris Olympic. This happened Friday, where the opening ceremonies in Paris Olympic organizers have apologized to people offended during a tableau of the opening ceremony that depicted the Greek god Dionysus, and an ancient festival meant to honor him. Critics said it mocked the Last Supper. And it was so weird that nobody knew, of the three Americans on NBC, nobody knew how to respond. And only Kelly Clarkson said, "Ooh, that's rude." And they didn't even invite us in. And I'll tell you what happened. So there was a moment on a bridge over the Seine when a camera cut to a DJ, a French DJ and producer by the name of Barbara Butch, who describes herself as a love activist. She wore a blue dress with a silver headdress, and as the camera panned out, she was flanked by drag queens on both sides. Later appeared a nearly naked man painted in blue, a portrayal of Dionysus, the god of winemaking, vegetation, fertility, and ecstasy. Not the drug, just the feeling of ecstasy.
Right.
Um, he then sang as the people around him danced, and it turned into a runway scene where models walked across. Then it was met with backlash as people say it mocked the Last Supper. Of course, the famous painting from Leonardo da Vinci that shows Jesus Christ and the 12 apostles at his Last Supper, where he announced one of the apostles would betray him. Several Christian and Catholic organizations around the world have denounced the moment. And there was a moment where it looked like they were closing the door and some sort of a Caligula situation was going to happen. And they closed the door, and if something sexual was going to take place. And that's when Kelly Clarkson said, "Well, that's just rude. They just didn't invite us in."
Oh, that's what she was talking about. Oh, that's hilarious.
And people all over the world, including Christian and Catholic organizations in France, in the United States, and other countries. Even Speaker of the House Mike Johnson said on social media that it was shocking and insulting to Christian people. So that was the big thing. I thought it was, I thought it was okay. It was a little too artsy fartsy for me, and it was very long, and it was very complicated in that they were trying to use as many of the signposts of Paris, if you will, from the Eiffel Tower to the River Seine to the museums and on and on and on that they're
And it was
famous
a lot
for.
more people than 12, right?
Oh,
That was depicted.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They didn't even get the number right. They're like, well, if we don't say 12, who will know? And you can't have a good, situation with multiple people with just 12, I guess. But and it rained, and so there was a lot, and they had all of these poor athletes who were preparing to, do what they're there for their games, and the rain's coming down. They're on the boats along the Seine. They're waving the flags. They're all coughing, and it was
Ugh.
it was really quite something.
Sounds European.
It was very
Very European.
very illogical. It was very illogical to me. It was very French. Michelle.
Yeah.
You're right. It was very French and very ooh la la. And it wasn't nothing that captured me for the entire time. I mean, I started out watching, I was getting my hair done and I was watching it and I was just like, but I left it, I came back and left and came back. And then finally later on that night, I saw the whole thing. I was like, oh my God, this is just interminable. But the kids seemed to enjoy it, and a lot of people got ripped off because they bought tickets for special seating along the route to see this. But it was raining, and people couldn't get there because of the trains or whatever.
Oh
And then
man.
and people had taken their seats, and it was really something. But
Mm.
I'm enjoying it. I was telling Ward White yesterday that the men's basketball and the women's basketball today were quite enjoyable to me. And I really enjoyed Dwayne Wade. He's one of the commentators calling the game from the men's game. It's really good, funny, and he did his homework, which is something Kelly Clarkson do that next time. Do your homework. And for that matter, Peyton Manning was no day at the beach either. Poor Mike Tirico, and I'm no Mike Tirico fan, but he was struggling with these two people on either side of him going, they don't pay me enough for this. But I'm enjoying the games, and even because of the time difference, I can wake up at any time, 4:00, and watch the games. And so I was able to see Simone Biles and the women's gymnastic team yesterday at 2:00 in the morning. And also the archery. So archery and shooting, sharpshooting, dangerous, really crazy. But the archery, so these young people are so skilled, archery, the bow and arrow. And so there's a point where they come and they hold the bow and it's right here. And a lot of them have band-aids or they have real indentations in their skin. This is the dedication of their craft to this. And so they got this thing, they got like a cleft made into their chins. You just want to see how good they are. And often the people with the deeper cleft or the band-aid were the better marksmen. Just an observation. You don't have to take that anywhere, just for whatever it's worth. Okay.
Well, that's good because there's nothing we could do with that information.
No, that's what trivia is all about.
Look at Coy.
I might need to go practice. I'll get a medal.
You can medal in archery. That's right.
I can medal in pole if they finally put it as an Olympic sport.
Hey,
they've been
breakdancing
trying.
is in it.
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm good enough, but I can try.
See, you never know how your skills will come in handy there. We're going to move to entertainment, and this isn't entertainment, but I do need to give a shout out to two very special women. There were two deaths that were announced today. One and profound losses for a lot of us. Erica Ashe, the actress, famous for her roles on Mad TV and Survivor's Remorse, has died. Her mother, Diane Ashe, released a statement saying, "We are deeply saddened to announce the passing of our beloved daughter, sister, and friend, Erica Chantal Ashe. After a long and courageous battle with cancer, she transitioned peacefully surrounded by her loved ones. She was an amazing woman and talented entertainer who touched countless lives with her sharp wit, humor, and genuine zest for life. Her memory will live eternally in our hearts, and in honor of Erica's memory, the family asks that any donations be made to the Susan G. Komen Cancer Foundation or the Breast Cancer Foundation of your choice. We are grateful for the kind expressions of love and support during this difficult time." And Erica Ashe was 46 years old. On the other side of life's timeline, Alma Powell, civic leader and widow of the late Secretary of State Colin Powell, has died. Although
Mm.
most of her career was focused on being a military spouse, Mrs. Powell was also a children's book author and served on the board of America's Promise Alliance, which focused on civic engagement, education, and workforce deployment development. Excuse me. According to her obituary, Alma Vivian Johnson, the eldest of two daughters, was born in Birmingham, Alabama in October of 1937. Her father was a principal of one of Birmingham's black high schools, and her mother ran a daycare. She graduated from Fisk University in Nashville before she went to Emerson College in Boston studying speech pathology and audiology. And the young soldier, Colin Powell, and Alma Johnson were set up on a blind date in 1961. Alma says she was reluctant to go out with the soldier and told the Washington Post she purposefully overdid her makeup and put on an unflattering dress. But when she met him, the general wrote in his memoir, she decided he looked like a little lost 12-year-old, and she changed both her mind and her dress. And they were married for over 50 years.
Mm.
He said that he was mesmerized by a pair of luminous eyes, an unusual shade of green. They married that next year at the church in her hometown, and she did not complete her graduate education. They were married for 4 months before the military sent him to Vietnam, and she called the first years of their young marriage, which she had to navigate alone, the defining experience of my life. And
Mm.
they traveled extensively, but they also moved over 20 times during their married years. Survivors include three children, Michael, Linda, and Anne Marie, four grandchildren, and a great grandson. And of course, General Powell preceded her in death.
Was his
Just,
prostate? Why did he?
I'm not sure, Yolanda. I don't remember what his cause of death was, but it wasn't that long ago. And let us close out with your jewel, yo.
So this week, I'm excited that we're talking about self-belief, believing in yourself. And so, Sybil, I was thinking about you. It says, embrace lifelong learning to boost your self-belief and expand your potential. So when you learn more, you feel more confident and you can believe in yourself more, the more well-rounded you are. I believe exposure and exposing your mind, it really,
Even when you think you know everything, exposing yourself to new things.
especially when you think you know everything.
Never
Well,
stop growing.
that's exactly right. That's exactly
Yep.
right. Let that be the key term today. All right. Thank you, ladies. You have taken away a lot of my soreness of my throat. Yolanda, I hope you're awake now. And Coy, I appreciate you, and we'll see you later this week.
Yes, you will.
See you
Aloha,
later.
everyone. And thanks for bearing with us with our technological difficulties.